rays of the rising sun struck upon the face of the giant, whereas the eyes of Umslopogaas were less dazzled by it. Rezu heard and stared at the axe which Umslopogaas held aloft, causing it to quiver slightly by an imperceptible motion of his arm. As he stared I saw his hideous face change and that on it for the first time gathered a look of something resembling fear. Also his followers behind him, who were also studying the axe, began to murmur together. For here I should say that as though by common consent the battle had been stayed. We no longer attacked and the enemy no longer ran. They, or those who were left of them, stood still as though they felt that their all and ultimate issue of the fight depended upon the forthcoming duel between these two champions. Though of that issue they had little doubt, since, as I learned afterwards, they believed their king to be invulnerable. For quite a while Rezu went on staring. Then he said aloud, as if he were thinking to himself,
"It is very like. The horn haft is the same. The pointed gouge is the same. The blade shaped like the young moon is the same. Almost could I think that before me shook the ancient holy axe. Nay, the gods have taken that back long ago, and this is but a trick of the witch Luala of the caves."
Thus he spoke, but still for a moment hesitated. "Umslopogaas," I said in the deep silence that followed, "hear me."
"I hear you," he answered without turning his head or moving his arms. "What counsel, Watcher by Night?"
"This slaughterer, strike not at that man's face and breast, for there I think he is protected by witchcraft or by armour. Get behind him and strike at his back. Do you understand?"
"Nay, Macumazahn, I understand not. Yet I will do your bidding because you are wiser than I and utter no empty words. Now be still."
Then Umslopogaas threw the axe into the air and caught it as it fell, and as he did so he began to chant his own praises Zulu fashion.
"Oh," he said, "I am the child of the lion, the black maned lion whose claws never loosened of their prey. I am the Wolf King, he who hunted with the wolves upon the Witch Mountain with my brother, bearer of the club, named Watcher of the Fords. I am he who slew him, called the Unconquered, chief of the people of the Axe, he who bore the ancient axe before me. I am he who smote the Halakazi tribe in their caves and won me Nada the Lily to wife. I am he who took the King Dingaan a gift that he loved little, and afterward with Mopo, my foster sire, hurled this Dingaan down to death. I am the royal one, named Bulalio the Slaughterer, named Woodpecker, named Umhlopekazi the Captain, before whom never yet man has stood in fair and open fight. Now, thou wizard Rezu, now thou giant, now thou ghost man, come on against me, and before the sun has risen by a hand's breadth, all those who watch shall see which of us is better at the game of war. Come on then, come on, for I say that my blood boils over and my feet grow cold. Come on, thou grinning dog, thou monster grown fat with eating the flesh of men, thou hook-beaked vulture, thou old grey-whiskered wolf." Thus he changed in his fierce boastful way, while his two remaining Zulus clapped their hands and sentence by sentence echoed his words, and Goroko the witch doctor muttered incantations behind him.
While he sang thus, Umslopogaas began to stir. First only his head and shoulders moved gently, swaying from side to side like a reed shaken in the wind or a snake about to strike. Then slowly he put out first one foot and next the other and drew them back again, as a dancer might do, tempting Rezu to attack. But the giant would not. His shield held before him, he stood still and waited to see what this black warrior would do. The snake struck. Umslopogaas darted in and let drive with the long axe. Rezu raised his shield above his head and caught the blow. From the clank it made, I knew that this shield, which seemed to be of hide, was lined with iron. Rezu smote back, but before the blow could fall, the Zulu was out of his reach. This taught me how great was the giant's strength, for though the stroke was heavy like the steel-hatted axe he bore, still when he saw that it had missed, he checked the weapon in mid-air, which only a mighty man could have done. Umslopogaas saw these things also and changed his tactics. His axe was 6 or 8 inches longer in the haft than that of Rezu, and therefore he could reach where Rezu could not, for the giant was short-armed. He twisted it round in his hand so that the moon-shaped blade was uppermost, and keeping it almost at full length, began to peck with the gauze-shaped point on the back, at the head and the arms of Rezu. That, as I knew, was a favourite trick of his in fight, from which he won his name of Woodpecker. Rezu defended his head with his shield as best he could, against the sharp points of steel which flashed all about him. Twice it seemed to me that the Zulu's pecks went home upon the giant's breast, but if so they did no harm. Either Rezu's thick beard or armour beneath it stopped them from penetrating his body. Still he roared out as though with pain or fury or both, and growing mad, charged at Umslopogaas and smote with all his strength. The Zulu caught the blow upon his shield, through which it shore as though the tough hide were paper. Stay the stroke it could not, yet it turned its direction so that the falling axe slid past Umslopogaas' shoulder, doing him no hurt. Next instant, before Rezu could strike again, the Zulu threw the severed shield into his face and seizing the axe with both hands, leapt in and struck. It was a mighty blow, for I saw the rhinoceros horn handle of the famous axe bend like a drawn bow, and it went home with a dull thud full upon Rezu's breast. He shook, but no more. Evidently the razor edge of Inkosikaas had failed to pierce. There was a sound as though a hollow tree had been smitten and some strands of the long beard, shorn off, fell to the ground, but that was all. "Takati! Bewitched!" cried the watching Zulus. "That stroke should have cut him in two," while I thought to myself that this man knew how to make good armour. Rezu laughed aloud, a bellowing kind of laugh, while Umslopogaas sprang back astonished. "Is this thus?" he cried in Zulu. "Well, all wizards have some door by which their spirit enters and departs. I must find the door, I must find the door." So he spoke, and with the springing movements tried to get past Rezu, first to the right and then to the left, all the while keeping out of reach. But Rezu ever turned and faced him, as he did so retreating step by step down the slope of the little hill and striking whenever he found a chance, but without avail, for always Umslopogaas was beyond his reach. Also the sunlight which now grew strong dazzled him, or so I thought. Moreover he seemed to tire somewhat, or so I thought also. At any rate he determined to make an end of the play, for with a swift motion, as Umslopogaas had done, he threw away his shield and grasping the iron handle of his axe with both hands, charged the Zulu like a bull. Umslopogaas leapt back out of reach. Then suddenly he turned and ran up the rise. Yes, Bulalio the Slaughterer ran. A roar of mockery went up from the sun worshippers behind, while our Amahagger laughed and Goroko and the two Zulus stared astonished and ashamed. Only I read his mind aright and wondered what guile he had conceived. He ran and Rezu ran after him, but never could